Now, some of the downsides, unfortunately, compared to traditional four-year colleges and universities here in the US specifically, and again, I'm speaking because Canada also is a very similar system to a certain extent, but that there's not going to be some of the add-ons that you would have. So, for example, housing could be an issue for you. So you'll need to figure that out. Now, with community colleges, a lot of times they can give you referrals or they can give you an idea of what other students have done. So maybe there's another student or several students there who have come from maybe even your current home country. They can give you referrals of how they found housing and how they've done that. But a lot of times, 99% of the time, there's not going to be any housing at community college. So that could be a bit of a barrier. So you may want to work with whatever community college you're interested in to figure out how do you find housing? How do you go about doing that? Because again, they're going to have the visa information covered for you, but the housing is going to be that key point. And at four-year colleges and universities, for the most part, that is covered here in the US. Obviously, there are some students, if they live close by, they stay at home, but that's sort of the bread and butter of what happens in American colleges and universities. I can even speak to this in the UK of how it was. I mean, it wasn't hard for me to find housing, but the fact that it wasn't not even included because you still have to pay for room and board even here in the US, but the fact that you had to find something independent, it was a little bit trickier. And so you'll just want to keep that in mind of how you're going to go about that. The other thing I will just say too is that even though despite its name of community college and how you're going to be able to meet so many people from the surrounding area and be able to bond with them and ingratiate yourself into society in the US, it's going to be a little bit harder to do some of the fun things. There are some community colleges that have clubs and, on campus different things, but it's not going to be the same sort of flow that you would find at a four-year college or university where, for example, here in the US, at most colleges and universities, there's clubs, there's a lot of times Greek life, there's sports. A lot of community colleges just don't have that. They're not set up for that. That's not what they're really there to offer. So just keeping that in mind. However, one of the things I will say is that you're going to be likely close to a college or university that's a four-year. So you could still find a way to fit into that particular group if you're interested in that. But just keeping in mind that the structure of a community college is very different in that way compared to even the smallest private, which was likely my school, the smallest private college in the US. It's just going to be set up a lot different. So you'll just want to keep that in mind that you will still make great friends when you're in class. You'll meet the professors and you'll have all this personalized service, but that there's not going to be some of those fun elements that you might find on a campus that's more traditional here in the US. And so I hope this was informative for you. Again, with community colleges, I love talking about them because I feel like they're in a lot of ways often forgotten. Here in the US, I don't want to say controversy, but there can be a lot of stigma around community colleges for students because, again, we have this funnel where we push everyone into four-year colleges. And so if someone says they want to do that, it can be a thing, whether people like to admit it or not. But for international students, it's sort of wide open. You don't have to face the same stigma. And it really is a great opportunity for you to be able to learn how we do things here at a college or university without paying a lot of money and without sort of the burden of feeling like, oh my gosh, like I have to do this for 4 years. If I don't like it, you only have 2 years and then you can move on to something else. And then also too, the fact that you get to transfer into some of the best universities and colleges in the country. You really can't beat that. That's something that's quite amazing, and that international students have the opportunity to do that as well is something that I love talking about and that I'm so happy to share with you. So definitely download the guide below that I mentioned before and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one.